So this video is going to give you a basic understanding of intonation and pitch adjustment. Understanding intonation and pitch is very important when tuning and matching with the orchestra, and we've talked a lot about that in class. This also applies to other orchestras as well. Intonation, from a basic understanding, is pitch accuracy. Okay, if you play an E on the D string, which is a 1 on the D, okay, it needs to sound like an E, right? It can't be sharp, it can't be flat. So this is what I mean, right? So this is an E, right? Playing an E, right? So you don't want it to sound flat, right? See how that changed? I'm gonna go back, right? That's an E, not sharp, too high, right on E. Okay, so that's pitch accuracy. That's intonation. It's playing the correct pitch. Usually on the tape. If your tapes are wrong, it's probably because your strings aren't quite in tune, your open strings. To have a good sounding orchestra every day, students need to participate in basic tuning themselves and adjust pitch accordingly. Doing that with the fine tuners, really getting that perfect pitch. And you do that with an A drone, usually in class or at the beginning. The teacher puts on that A drone, and you need to listen to that A and adjust for the pitch with your fine tuner. And we'll also do that with other open strings as well, the D, the E, the G, and the C. If students are comfortable with their pegs, they may use their pegs. However, most students don't know how to use their pegs, and you have to be very careful, otherwise you'll break a string. So I suggest not using your pegs. If your violin, viola, cello, or bass is horrendously out of tune, I can help you with that. Basses use mechanical tuners, so you don't really have fine tuners. You only have one type of tuner, which is that mechanical tuner. Okay, so moving on. So here are two examples of tuning. First with the fine tuner, and then adjusting pitch while you're playing a piece. So let's start with tuning. Alright, so here it is with the A drone. We have the A drone going. So first thing is listen to that A, and then when you play your open A, you listen for it if it's high or low, okay? And that's not always obvious. If the tone just seems a little flat, kind of like a tire, it's probably low. If it seems a little crunchy, a little high, it's probably too high, okay? So I'm just gonna make mine low or high and see if you can figure it out, but I'll tell you. It's not quite the same. It kind of sounds a little flat to me, so I'm gonna do righty-tighty. When it's low and it's flat, that's what I mean by low, it's flat, you need to adjust it to the right. So you have to go righty-tighty with your fine tuner, okay? Okay, and it falls right into place, just like that. Okay, now I'm gonna make it sharp. Okay, it's kind of crunchy, right? It's not quite there, so it's actually too high. So you have to go lefty-loosey till it drops into place with that perfect A. There it is, okay? And you really have to listen to it. You have to do it every day. You have to train your ear to do that, okay? And it's a skill that you're developing. And remember, for basses, same concept as a violin, viola, or cello, but you're using the mechanical tuners, righty-tighty, and then lefty-loosey, right? Really listen to it, because basses are very sensitive, right? If you turn it a little bit, it changes the pitch a lot. So you have to use your ears. Don't be lazy about it. Take the time. Get your strings in tune, okay? All right, the second thing is we're going to go over on how to adjust your pitch while you're playing the piece. Okay, part of that is listening to the orchestra as a whole, but also making sure you're in tune initially when we're tuning in the beginning of class. So this is Jurassic Park. I'm only going to play Jurassic Park on the violin because it's the same concept for viola, cello, and bass. Okay, adjusting your fingers. So this is the first violin part for Jurassic Park. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. At measure 5, when you're playing the G string, that note, it's a C. Okay, and oftentimes, at least in my class, students are getting that note out of tune. They're playing the C, okay, and it's too low. So that means probably their elbow isn't tilted enough, so they can't stretch their 3, and they're not getting it in the proper spot. So when they're playing their 3, it's actually sounding like this. And then some students are doing it correctly, and they're playing this one. And it's just a slight difference, okay? So you really have to use that ear. If you're sitting by someone you know who's very confident and usually is in tune, try and listen to their pitch. Okay, so here's a C. That's the right note. So pretend I'm a student not playing the right C and playing a C, and you're slightly low. You're kind of there. And you're not really paying attention, right? You're just doing your thing. That's wrong. It's going to clash. It's going to sound terrible, as we saw or heard in our recording, okay? So if you're playing that bad C, that's incorrect intonation, right? We talked about intonation. You need to adjust that pitch going higher. Right? Really getting that in tune. Okay, and that's going to sound much nicer as a whole with the orchestra. So here it is again. I'm going to purposely go out of tune, but adjust my pitch. So here's the beginning. I'm going to go all the way to measure 5. I'm going to play that C out of tune. For bass, you're playing at measure 5, a 2 on A, which is a C as well. So oftentimes you guys have been getting that out of tune as well. So really doing that 2, cutting the first and second tape in half, really getting in the middle, okay? Same for cellos, you're playing that E, really listening for that correct E on D1. And violas, you have to make sure your G string's in tune because you're playing an open G there, okay? So here's the beginning. Playing out of tune. Oh, I hear it. There it is. That's the right note. Hear it? Okay, you really want to listen for that note and make sure it's in tune. So you can do that with many other notes as well. It's not just that C. You can adjust pitch to make sure you're matching with the orchestra and you're correct, right? But we went over 2 things. Initially, you want to make sure your open strings are in tune. That is very important, right? Your notes are going to sound horrendous if you're continually trying to adjust pitch just because your open strings are out of tune. So they must be in tune, right? Using those fine tuners. The second part is, okay, if you are in tune, but the orchestra is not quite in tune, or you need to match pitch, whatever it may be, you can do that. So you can adjust pitch with your finger. Maybe your tapes are a little out of place, right? So 2 things, tuning the beginning of class and adjusting pitch.